everyone. I'm right in the middle of my next project, but I've been getting a lot of questions on my CNC machine. So I thought I'd do a quick review for you on the Legacy 3x5 Generation 2 woodworking CNC machine. Now this is actually my second CNC machine. I have a CWI CNC machine also, a 4x4 that I bought used about 8 years ago. And I bought this one as a secondary backup unit, though now it's kind of become my primary unit. The reason I bought a second unit is I have a handcrafted business. And that's what I do for a living, is all day long I'm building crafting items that I'm shipping out. Last year I shipped out about 4,000 shipments of product. And so I'm busy. And then I do YouTube and other fun things in the evenings. But sometimes when I get really busy, like Christmas time when it's insane, you can't afford to have a machine go out. And so I bought a second CNC machine. I now have 2 lasers because if something happens, I have a backup. So when I went looking for a second CNC machine, I was confused. There is a ton of CNC machines out there, all with different features, different pricing. I wanted something that was going to work hard for me, something that wasn't going to absolutely break the bank for me. And I finally settled on the Legacy after I had narrowed it down to a few choices. And I will tell you why. I'm going to give you the features of the Legacy and any pros and cons that I've had with it. And we will give you my judgment at the end. So some of the extra features of the Legacy that most CNCs do not have. One thing it has is it has a front plate here that you can mount boards to and carve into the end of them. So you can have a board sticking up, do say a tenon on the end of a piece of wood, you can do a mortise in the end of a piece of wood. So it had a feature that I haven't seen on another CNC machine, allowing you to do that end work on pieces. And that was kind of intriguing. Not that my daily use uses that sort of thing, but it was a feature that was a bonus. The second bonus is it has the rotary lathe built into it. And that lathe, you can do your spindles or other products. And I'll be honest, I've been so busy the last 2 years that I haven't had a chance to use the lathe yet, but I have a ton of ideas in my head of things that I want to do on the lathe, and hopefully I will get to some of those soon, and you will see them here on the channel, and we'll show you how the lathe works on this. But the lathe was a great option that I couldn't resist, so another reason I went with the Legacy. The third reason I went with the Legacy was the height medallion, the pad. I liked how it worked, that you could put your pad on your piece of material, it would touch off on it. You put it back to the home spot, it moves over, touches off on it again, and then it knows that difference between the home spot and the height of your material. So if you're doing carving with multiple bits, as you change bits, it just has to touch off on the pad again each time you change a bit, and it knows exactly what the height of the material is. So no double measuring for heights. You just got to measure it once and the machine takes care of the rest. That was a great concept for me. My older machine doesn't have that, and so that was a real benefit that I saw with that type of system. Now, part of the reason I went with the 3x5 is the products that I make are not sheet size. They are mostly smaller items. The largest item I currently carve out is a 16.5 by 16.5 inch piece, so this size was fine for me. If I was doing sheet goods, I would have definitely moved up to a 4x8. Now that I'm doing some YouTube videos and things and designing other stuff, that might have been a better option for me. And I may change one day in the future. Like I did the Viking chairs, and some of those were 7 feet long, so I had to do them in a couple of sections, but that worked fine. But depending on what you're doing, you can You can run with something as small as the 3x5 here or move up to the larger unit. So speaking of building and shipping out so much product, I did start also another YouTube channel. Not that I have a ton of time, but I've been building a crafting business for 15 years, and I wanted to share some of that knowledge too. So if you are interested in building your own crafting business, I started another channel called The Business of Crafting, and I will put a link below. And if you're looking for information on building your own crafting business, you can go there, you check it out if you like. But back to reviewing the Legacy. So a couple of the other more normal features that it has. This one has a liquid cooled spindle. Some people were saying to me, do you really want to get a liquid cooled unit? It can cause problems. My other unit is an air cooled. So when I first got this, I hooked it up, I filled the tank. It's ran perfectly since. I've checked the levels multiple times over the last 2 years. I don't think it's lost a drop. It is ran perfectly for the liquid cooling, no issues. The spindle has 4 screws here. You can also raise and lower the spindle also, so if you're doing something particularly tall or have a very long bit, you can get some extra play out of there and run higher pieces. I like that. It runs with on the X and Y axis, a rack and pinion system. And then on the Z axis is a ball screw. So my other system is ball screw throughout. 6 of one, half a dozen the other. I think both are fine. Haven't really had too much of an issue. I'll talk about one slight issue I've had with the rack and pinion, but nothing major. The control software it came with was the Mach 3 control software. The computer is a small fanless system that's been mounted to the back of the computer monitor. It's worked flawlessly. I've had no issues at all. Boots up, works fine. No problems there at all. Everything came with the unit. Didn't have to buy anything extra. Now they have, since I bought this unit, upgraded the controller. You can now also get it with what they call their Delta controller. So the Mach 3 is getting a little outdated, and I think you can still get this model with the Mach 3, but they also have a version with their Delta controller, which is the newer, better version, and maybe an option to go to if you're looking to get a Legacy. One thing I liked with this one that my old system didn't have is the ability to set up different offsets. So I have some different offsets set up that work really well. This offset in the corner here, I go and I have it aligned to the top left corner. And the reason I have everything aligned to the top left corner and my program's aligned for the top left corner is because that is what the laser also aligns to. So I can put things in the CNC machine here, align them there, use that offset, drill holes or carve them, pocket them, etc. Take it out of here into the CNC machine and everything matches. It works fantastic. Because I do production work all day long, I have, over the last 2 years, ran thousands of parts through this machine. Not everything I build runs through the CNC machine, but a lot of it does. And I have ran thousands of parts through here with only very minor issues. I'm going to run through those minor issues and just let you know what I've found. But everybody's experience might be a little different. I'm sure every machine out there has its own quirks and from time to time hiccups, but I'll show you what I've had with this one. So up here we have a pillow block. I started after 6 months or so getting a little squeaking out of that pillow block as the Z-axis moved up and down. So I have to make sure I lubricate in there a little more. It doesn't call for lubrication, but I put a little lubrication in there, that's fixed that problem up. Second problem I've had is on occasion I have had a misstep on the rack and pinion. And I think it's because you know, something has got in there and I've lost half a step. Now, I'm having a problem right now with my Cyclone unit, so I'm using a smaller vacuum right now, so I do not have a vacuum system on here. If I did, that problem might go away, because sometimes I create a lot of chips, and while the rack is kind of protected here, I think every once in a while a chip gets in there and I lose a step. It's only happened a couple of times, but it has happened. Also, on a couple of occasions, I've had the Medallion height pad stop working a couple of times, and I've had to unplug it, blow it out, plug it back in. Just been minor, hasn't really held things up much, but it gives me enough of a concern that now I always touch it off on the bit before I use it, just out of habit, just because it's happened a couple of times. Again, something minor. I think also 3 times I have had the unit stop in a mid pocket and give me a timeout error. Now, I don't think that is the fault of the CNC machine. I think that's the fault of the Mach 3 software. And I've just had to reset things, and because it saves all where your different fixture stops are, I just had to go in and restart things from where it was and continue on. But I've had that happen about 3 times in 2 years, running through thousands of parts. Also with, I think, a problem with the Mach 3 software, if I'm doing a carving that's got a lot of very fine detail, where it's got a lot of back and forth movements, a lot of tight corners, I've had to just slow down the feed rate a little more than I would like. And I think that's just because the Mach 3 software isn't quite there for the controller. And moving up to a Delta controller might fix that. Sounds from what I've read that it does give you better accuracy in corners and things, so that might be an option to look for if you're looking to get a legacy machine. I know if I did it again, I would get the Delta controller. For service, I've really had no need of service. This thing's ran pretty flawlessly for 2 years now. I did call them about the pillow block when it started squeaking, and then they helped me out with that and just made sure it wasn't an issue. They do weekly training sessions online that you can watch, where they teach features and new things that you can do with the machine. So their service and training has been top notch. No complaints there. Haven't had to order parts in though, so can't tell you how that works, but I don't think it would be an issue. I think they would take care of you right away. So all in all, I would give the Legacy Maverick 3x5 Generation 2 Intelligent Woodworking CNC machine a 9 out of 10. Would buy again.